down into a comfortable position. Taking a couple moments to settle it in. Feel the spine relax down into the mat, lengthening in both directions. Feel your body softening in here. Really noticing what your body feels like today. Taking this moment to tune in and listen, seeing what it is you need in your practice. And with that, perhaps setting an intention for your practice. Take a big breath in through the nose. And open the mouth, letting it go. Here you can stretch your arms over your head and take a little wiggle around through the whole body. And then gently drawing the knees into the chest. You can continue to just kind of wiggle around here, maybe circle the knees. And land the feet flat to the mat. We're going to take our figure four, crossing the right ankle over the left knee. Start to draw the left thigh in towards your chest. Keeping the spine long on the mat. Maybe taking a really gentle rock of the legs side to side here. Wiggling out the jaw a little bit. Just a gentle opening, nothing forceful. Oh, one more breath here. We're going to keep the figure four, but drop the left foot down. Moving the hips over to the right. Let your knees find a little twist over to the left. And again, try not to force anything, just kind of letting things drop and keep that right shoulder down to the mat. About one more breath here. Really gently roll yourself back to center, stepping both feet to the mat, bringing everything back to neutral for a moment. And we'll take the other side, crossing the left ankle over the right knee. Starting to draw that right thigh in. And trying to keep the whole spine nice and long on the mat. You could take a little movement here if you like. Noticing any parts of the body that are straining or are tense that don't need to be straining or tense. About one more breath. We'll just let that right foot come down, moving the hips a little to the left, taking our twist with the knees falling over to the right. Full breaths in, full breaths out. And about one more. Really slowly bringing yourself back to center, both feet stepping flat to the mat. We'll bring the knees to the chest, taking a couple of rocks forwards and backwards. We're going to eventually flip it all the way up and over into a tabletop. You can crisscross your ankles and step yourself right into it. Spreading the fingers, take a moment to just land yourself here in your tabletop and feel the spine nice and long. We're going to move through some really slow cat and cows. So I want you to think about starting from the tailbone. We'll lift the tailbone and try not to lift the head until the very last moment. So you're going to ripple through the spine, moving one vertebra at a time, getting up to the upper back, eventually to the neck and to the head. And then same thing on the reverse, tucking the tailbone first and rounding through the spine until you get to the upper back, to the neck, and to the head. Same thing again, lifting through the tailbone, rippling all the way up to the upper spine, finally lifting the gaze. And again, slightly tucking the tailbone, starting to round through the low back, middle back, upper back, and then neck and head. One more time, just like that. Lifting the tailbone first, slowly rippling up, and then tucking the tailbone first, and slowly rippling down. All right, from here, we're gonna reverse it. So let's start by lifting the gaze. Keep that tailbone tucked for right now, and let that ripple move from the upper back to the middle back to the low back. And then we'll tuck the chin first and round upper back, middle back, and low back. Again, lifting the gaze first. Rippling up into our cow pose, tailbone lifts last. And tucking the chin first. And rippling down into our cat pose, tailbone tucks last. One more time like that, lifting the gaze, rippling up, and tucking the chin, and rippling it down. Beautiful. Coming back to neutral, taking a moment again to just feel the spine nice and long. Maybe take a little shimmy side to side. From here, you can step your knees out nice and wide and sit back into your child's pose. You can take a little stretch through the arms, really reaching your sit bones down and back, getting that stretch. And then from here, lifting the head just slightly off the mat, we'll slide the right arm underneath the left, finding a thread of the needle. You can bring your right ear down. Letting the knees be nice and wide so you can easily fall right between them. Taking one more full big breath in. Big exhale, letting it go. Use an inhale to slide that right arm out in front of you, and then right away we'll exhale the left arm under the right side. One more big breath. And with an inhale, slide the left arm out. Take another moment here, just stretching. And then pressing into your fingertips as you pull yourself up through a tabletop, tucking the toes, lifting the hips. Find your downward facing dog and take a little pedal here. And then from your down dog, round your spine forwards, coming into a plank pose. Landing nice and level as you arrive here, flatten it out, adjust your hands and your feet if you need to. Press into your fingertips and really lift your chest far away from the floor. And then feel your pubic bone sliding up towards your ribs as your belly hugs in. And think about really reaching your tailbone down towards your heels. And breathe. Think about really pressing your belly muscles up into your low back. We'll take about one more breath. And we're going to bend the knees really deeply and lift the hips back into a downward facing dog. You can start to straighten the legs as you get there. We're going to take that a couple more times, moving really intentionally. Inhale to ripple yourself forwards, coming into your plank, leveling it out as you get there. We'll take a full breath here, firming up the belly, pushing the floor down. And then bending the knees nice and deep and scooping the hips back, finding your way to down dog. One more time, inhale to ripple it forwards into your plank, level it out, engage the belly, breathe. And then bending the knees and lifting it back up, downward facing dog. From here you can soften the knees and take an easy walk up to the top of the mat, finding your fold. Keeping the knees a little bit bent here. You can grab for your opposite elbows. Shake it out. Really grounding into the feet. Feel that nice stretch in the back of the legs. And then releasing the hands, and we'll take a slow roll. Press into the feet. Feel your tailbone really drop down behind you before your upper body stacks. And we'll let the shoulders take a roll at the top, sliding them down and back as we land into Tadasana. Finding that same engagement in the belly as we did in our plank as we drop the tailbone and lift the pubic bone up, hugging the belly muscles in. Inhale to sweep your hands up over your head without losing the engagement in your belly. And exhale, folding all the way down, soften your knees. Inhale, find your halfway lift. We're going to stay here for a moment, so keep breathing. Find that same length as your tailbone reaches back and a little bit down, and your belly wraps up and in, moving your heart forwards, moving your shoulders backwards. With an exhale, fold it back down. Inhale, sweep your hands up, again mindful of your tailbone dropping down. And exhale, hands to heart center. Again, inhale, sweep the arms up, see if you can keep the belly strong. And exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen it out, tailbone reaching down and back. And exhale to fold. Inhale, hands to the sky, tailbone drops. And exhale, hands to your heart. All right, one more time, sweep the arms up and fold all the way down. Inhale to lengthen, strong belly. Exhale to fold and step your right foot back, find your lunge. We're gonna press through that right heel, really firming up the right thigh, lengthen it out. And then lift your left heel off of the mat, so you're on your left tippy toes. And just get a little bit deeper, like you're trying to launch yourself forwards, but that right foot is glued down. Soften the jaw. Take another breath. You can plant your left heel down as you plant your palms and step that left foot back, find your plank pose, setting it up well. We're going to shift the whole thing forward so you're on your tippy toes. Keep the belly really engaged as you lower all the way down. Press your tailbone down so your pubic bone really grounds as you lift your chest. And then exhale to press yourself back, downward facing dog. Inhale to sweep your right leg straight up and back behind you. Find that little scooping up and in of the belly here and see if you can keep that. Keep the right leg long and just open the hip. So try not to throw the right leg behind you. Just stacking those hips and keeping the tailbone lengthening back. We'll use an inhale to re-square the hip. And then as you exhale, step your right foot outside your right hand. Finding your wide, low lunge here. We'll press through the back heel, getting really long. And then exhale to tap the left knee down. You can untuck those left toes. We'll hang out here for a moment. You can come onto your palms or maybe even soften the elbows if you have that kind of space. And notice again if the hips kind of sag and if you get a little crunch in the low back, and try to keep picking up the pubic bone and dropping the tailbone. We'll take about one more breath. We'll start to tuck the left toes and lift the left knee up. With an exhale, step your left foot outside your left hand, coming into a wide forward fold with the head drop. With your inhale, sweep your hands up, drop the tailbone down. And exhale, hands to heart center as you step your feet together. Inhale to sweep the arms up. Exhale to fold all the way down. Inhale, find that length. Exhale, fold, step your left foot back, find your lunge. Setting it up well. Again, we're going to lift the right heel, coming onto the right tippy toes, and really press through that left heel. Getting as long as you can. Big stretch. Soften the jaw. Take about one more full breath. And then planting the heel as you plant your hands, step the right foot back, find your plank. Wrapping those belly muscles in. Shift the whole thing forwards and really gently lower all the way down. Feel your pubic bone press down as you lift your chest up. And exhale to press it back. Down dog. Spread the fingers, ground the fingertips. We'll inhale the left leg straight up and back. Taking a moment here to just lengthen that tailbone again, and then see if you can keep that as you keep the left leg long and just open the hips. So notice how your left leg wants to fall behind you. Wrapping those belly muscles in, take about one more breath. And then go ahead and square the hip off again. With an exhale, step that foot outside your left hand, finding your wide, low lunge. Lengthen it out. And tap the right knee down. You can untuck those toes. Take that sag out of the hips by pulling the belly up and in and pointing your tailbone down. Should feel a nice stretch in that front of your right hip crease here. The more that you drop your tailbone, the bigger that stretch is going to get. One more full breath. Go ahead and plant your hands, tucking the right toes, lifting the right knee, step that right foot outside your right hand, find your wide fold for a moment. And then with soft knees, sweep your hands all the way up. And exhale, step the feet together, hands to your heart. With an inhale, sweep your hands all the way up. And exhale to fold all the way down. Inhale to find some length. Exhale to fold. Let's step both feet right back, coming into a plank. Building that plank nice and strong. Now it's your choice. We're going to shift forward. You can lower all the way or halfway for chaturanga. Pressing into the tops of the feet, find your back bend. And exhale to pull it back. Downward facing dog. We're going to try to really keep that low back long throughout our practice. So let's inhale the right leg up. Notice again if you kind of lose that length and draw the belly in again, moving the tailbone back behind you. And then open the hip, keep the leg long. Close the hip again. And step your right foot outside your right hand. This time let's keep the left knee lifted. Find that pulling up of the pubic bone, that dropping down of the tailbone. Breathing here. Really firming up that that left leg. Take about one more breath. We're going to plant the left palm and turn all 10 of your toes to the right. So the pinky toe of your left foot comes down and your right foot wiggles down the mat about halfway. And then you can bring your right hand to your right hip, find the length in your tailbone again, and let your hips come down towards the mat. With an inhale, press your hips up. Exhale, lower them down. Inhale, pressing them up. One more time, drop. And lift again. Plant your right hand at the top of the mat as you pivot onto the left toes. Kick your right leg up and back. And this time, step it straight through in between your hands. Grounding into your feet, we're going to rise it up into a high lunge. And let's bend the back knee. And think about getting your whole upper body perpendicular to the floor. Squaring the hips, dropping the tailbone, and wrapping those belly muscles in. Take about one more breath. With an exhale, warrior two, drop the back heel and open it up. Notice again if you lose the length in the low back and try to drop the tailbone, drawing the belly up and in. At the same time, feel your thighs moving away from each other. With an inhale, press your palms over your head, turning your right toes in. Let your heels come in and toes point out. We're going to sit down into our goddess squat. Knees pointing over the toes, still really dropping the tailbone and keeping your upper body perpendicular to your mat. You can take a little shimmy through the hips here if you like. With an inhale, sweep your arms up, coming back up to stand. And exhale, returning to warrior two. We'll keep the right knee bent and reverse your warrior, tip it back. And then exhale, finding a side angle. That can be elbow to thigh or fingertips all the way to the mat if you're feeling open for it. Again, pointing that tailbone down, drawing that belly up and in, even as you stretch. And breathe. One more breath in. On the exhale, soften everything into a low lunge, planting your hands. We'll step the right foot back into a plank. And you can take your choice of a flow. We'll be back in our down dog and we'll take the other side just like that. Let's take a couple full breaths here. Just feel the two sides of the body. Grounding through the hands, sweep your left leg straight up and back. And then keeping that length in your low back, open the hip, keep the leg long. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And then go ahead and close the hip again. And step that foot outside your left hand. We'll keep the back knee lifted for a few breaths here. You might come up onto your fingertips if you need a little extra space. And again, take the sag out of the hips by picking the belly up and in and moving your tailbone down. About one more breath here. We're going to plant that right palm really, really well up in the corner of the mat. As all 10 toes turn to the left, wiggle your left foot down the side of the mat. You can bring your left hand to your left hip. And then let your hips come down. With an inhale, pick them up. Exhale, drop them down. Inhale, picking up. Exhale, drop. One more time, picking up. This time, plant your left hand at the top of the mat, spinning onto your right toes. Kick your left leg straight back behind you. This time, we'll step it in between the hands. Low lunge. And then grounding down, rise all the way up, high lunge. Whoop. We're going to bend the back knee. That's going to help you point your tailbone down, wrap the belly muscles in, and really lengthen perpendicular to the floor. Couple of breaths here. One more. And then go ahead and drop the back heel, opening it into a warrior two, but notice what changes in the low back and see if you can keep that same length. Feel your thighs inflate and move in opposite directions as your hips peel open. One more breath. With an inhale, press your palms over your head, turning your toes. We'll pull the heels in, point the toes out. Sitting down into your goddess squat. This time, if you want to bring your prayer behind your back for something a little bit different, you can take that. Still mindful of the length in the spine. Leaning the weight to the pinky toe edges of your feet. One more full breath. And then inhale to sweep your hands all the way up, coming to stand, returning to your warrior two on your exhale. Inhale to reverse your warrior, stretching back. Again, notice that the low back crunches. And exhale, side angle, your choice of variation. Really grounding that back foot down as you stretch through the right seam of the body. Take about one more big breath. Exhale, gently release into your low lunge. Planting your palms, we'll step back to plank. You can take your choice of a flow. You can always skip the flow and meet back in down dog. Taking a moment here, feeling the two sides of the body again. And then when you're ready, you can shift forwards into your plank pose. Tap the knees down, coming into a child's pose for just a moment. From here you can press yourself all the way up into a seated position. And we're going to sweep the feet straight out in front. Ground your sit bones, sitting out nice and tall. We'll reach the hands overhead and take an exhale to fold over your legs. Using your inhales to move your heart forwards. And using your exhales to heavy a little bit further down. Take about one more breath. And then slowly press yourself right back up into your seat. You can scoot yourself up onto the top of your mat. We'll come down nice and slowly onto our backs. You can let the knees fall right into the chest if you like. Take a little rock here. We're going to step the left foot onto the mat, keeping the right knee in. And then I want you to roll onto your left side. Grab your right ankle and start to draw your right heel towards your right glute. You can bring your left arm under your left ear for a little cushion here. So we're just getting a nice big quad stretch on our sides. And again, notice your butt is going to kind of tip back. So I want you to keep pointing your tailbone down, lifting your pubic bone up, and that's going to intensify the stretch in your quad. Notice if the knee wants to float up towards the ceiling and try to keep it in line with your hip. Almost like a laying down dancer's pose. One more breath. And then just really gently roll yourself back onto your back, pulling your right knee into your chest. And then your left knee into your chest. Feeling the difference in the two sides. We'll step the right foot onto the mat. And roll yourself off to the right side. You can reach that right arm up for a little pillow. And then let your left hand slide to your left ankle and take your quad stretch here, again without the butt tipping back. Keep pointing your tailbone down. So it's going to make it harder to stretch deeper. It's going to get into the right spot. About one more full breath. And then slowly rolling yourself back to center. And pull the left knee into the chest. And pull the right knee into the chest. Take a little rock here. And then sliding your arms between your legs, grab for your feet or your ankles, take your happy baby. Keep lengthening the spine down. You can take a little movement here, side to side. If you want to stretch one leg out to the side, you can. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together to touch, letting the legs come down into a reclined butterfly shape. Taking a moment here again to slide your tailbone down towards your heels. You're really lengthening. And then we're going to press into the edges of the feet. Engage your glutes, keep your tailbone long, and lift your hips up off the mat with your butterfly legs. Exhale to gently release. We're going to take that a couple of times. Inhale, keep that low back long, engage the glutes, lift. Exhale, release it down. Twice more, inhaling to lift. Exhaling to lower. One more time, lifting and lowering. From here, you can just relax into your butterfly. Maybe the arms want to sweep up over your head. And then reaching your fingertips towards your thighs, use your hands to press your knees together. We'll just take one more supine twist before we wrap it up. We'll move the hips to the right, letting the knees drop over to the left. couple of full breaths here. And slowly floating it back through center, moving the hips to the left and letting the knees drop over to the right. And slowly coming back to center once again. You can give the knees a little squeeze into the chest. You can maybe circle the knees around a little bit. Take any last little stretches or wiggles that you need. And when you're ready, you can start to extend the legs out long. And slide yourself into Shavasana. Letting the muscles release. Giving yourself these moments of just being still, letting the body restore itself, letting the mind be at ease. Really slowly start to bring your awareness back to your body, just checking back in and noticing how it feels. Let the breath start to get a little bit deeper. And slowly wiggling your fingers and your toes. Taking a gentle rock of the head. And finally stretching the arms up. Step the feet to the mat. Come off to one side when you're ready, finding fetal position, pausing there for a moment. Really slowly press your way into your seat. Keep the eyes closed if you can. Grounding down and lifting tall. Bring hands together in front of the heart, dropping the chin. Taking a moment to have this sort of conversation with yourself. Thanking yourself for your practice, for your intention today. Take a big inhale through the nose and open the mouth, letting it go. Namaste.